Welcome to the Fast Performance Baseball Podcast, your go-to source for baseball enthusiasts looking to enhance their game and knowledge. I'm your host, Cole Thomas, and today we have a special episode in store for you as we delve into the coaching career of Mark Vig, a highly respected figure in the Colorado baseball community. Mark Vig's coaching journey has been filled with remarkable experiences and notable achievements, from his early days as a grad assistant at Regis University to his tenure at Metropolitan State University of Denver and now Colorado Mesa University. Mark has made a significant impact on the players he has coached and the programs he has been a part of. Throughout his career, Mark has focused on player development and has excelled in areas such as pitching, defense, and the day-to-day operations of baseball programs. He has successfully recruited and nurtured talented players, leading them to achieve individual and team successes. Mark's coaching expertise has earned him recognition throughout the industry and has contributed to the growth and improvement of his teams. With a master's degree in organizational leadership, Mark brings a unique perspective to his coaching approach and emphasizing the importance of character development and creating a supportive environment for his players. His dedication to their holistic growth sets him apart from a coach who values not only their on-field performance, but their personal development. In today's episode, we'll have the opportunity to delve into Mark's coaching philosophy, his strategies for player development, and the valuable lessons he has learned throughout his career. Whether you're a player, coach, or simply a baseball enthusiast, get ready for an insightful conversation with Mark Vig, where we'll explore the realities, challenges, and triumphs of coaching in the baseball world. Please welcome Mark Vig. Mark, thank you for coming on the show. Really appreciate you having me on.
Yeah, you bet, Cole. Thanks for having me, man. This is cool. This is pretty much the first time I've ever done something like this, so this is cool.
Hell yeah. So for guys who don't know, I guess, who you are, and I think you're fairly well known in the Colorado area.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
There are very few people who don't know, but for people who maybe don't, give us a rundown of who Mark Vig is and what's been your journey now to get to Colorado Mesa.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Grew up small town, South Dakota, from a little town called Yankton, South Dakota. I always get a kick because out in Colorado, especially out here at Grand Junction, I say, "Oh, I'm from South Dakota," and everyone right away says Mount Rushmore. It's like, nah, not necessarily. I'm actually from the other side of the state. But small town, Yankton, South Dakota. Grew up, played all the sports in high school, sort of thing, and small town, and played college baseball at a small school called the University of Sioux Falls. We were NAI at the time, and now they're Division II. And I always kind of knew I wanted to get into coaching. I had a really good background as far as growing up. Had an older brother that played and was kind of always the bat boy and hanging out and that sort of thing. And our Legion coach in Yankton, his name is Andy Bernardo. He's a big mentor of mine, and he's a college baseball coach at Mount Marty, and now he's the athletic director. So I grew up around college baseball, I guess you could say, pretty much my whole life, and close to Omaha, and go to the College World Series every year. So college baseball was always a big deal for me. But like I said, played at University of Sioux Falls, didn't have a very illustrious career, was kind of a player coach when I was playing, and kind of took to that. And my head coach was Matt Giuliano, who I have a great relationship with, and he allowed me to do a lot of things that I don't think a lot of players do while they're playing, as far as scouting and that sort of stuff, all the back half of it. So I kind of was groomed into it, I would say, and then had some opportunities back kind of where I'm from to coach, and followed my then girlfriend, then fiance, now wife, out to Colorado. She was going to law school at DU, and followed her out here, and was kind of couch hopping with some of her friends and roommates, and got on at Regis University. There was a coaching change there, and kind of just got my foot in the door and got on at Regis, and I coached at Regis for 3 years, and then I moved over to Metro and did the Metro thing for 6 years, and and now I'm out at Colorado Mesa. So I've been in Colorado for about 11 years now. Been in RMAC baseball for 10, and I've done the summer ball deal as well. I've done youth camps. I mean, I've had a lot of different realms, I guess, of Colorado baseball, but Colorado baseball is very near and dear to my heart, and I think it's a great deal, and it's a very interesting landscape that I've learned and adapted and grown with, and it's been cool to see, man. So Yeah, out in Grand Junction now with my family, and we couldn't be more happy with where we're at and how things have gone. So
Awesome. So I'm curious because in your bio it says that you are responsible for recruiting Colorado and Utah as your kind of your specialty. And I'm interested in what are the challenges and like what are the pros and cons of recruiting in those two landscapes that are, I mean, for you, I mean, I think the joke more or less for Mesa is basically Mesa is just the place where all the California kids go. It's if they can't go get onto a school in California, they come out to Grand Junction because you guys have historically loved everyone out in California. But how do you balance getting kids from Utah and Colorado and try to draw them into Mesa?
yeah, I think you hit on it pretty well. We've had a lot of success at Colorado Mesa with California, Arizona, and a lot of that is Coach Sean McKinney. He's played here and then he's been coaching ever since. He's going on like his I don't know 18th total year here, and
He
he's
hangs
just done it.
just right next to each other, just right
Yeah,
hand man to
yeah, yeah,
hand.
yeah. He played for Hanks and then he's been
Oh
coaching ever
yeah.
since. Man, those guys, that's a fun dynamic there. A lot of guys say they should have their own reality TV show, but a lot of the success of those players from those areas is because of Rook, because of Sean McKinney. He's done such a great job. Now, with that being said, we've also had a lot of success with Colorado and Utah players as well. If you go through our history and that sort of thing, the reason I have Colorado and Utah, Steve Wojtek, who was here, the last 20 plus years, that was his two recruiting areas. He moved on. He's now the athletic director at Grand Junction High School. And those were his two main recruiting areas. So when they brought me over, they basically just said, you need to fill Woe's shoes. And there's no way I can do that, but I'm trying my best in just the landscape of the recruiting of those two spots. So I've recruited Colorado for a long time, for about 10 plus years now. I don't really have any issues with Colorado as far as knowing who to talk to and when and how and that sort of thing. Utah is something new for me, and I've done my best to try and learn that state and navigate it and the landscape of it. It's a very interesting state. The baseball is really good out there. I don't think it gets as much recognition as it should, but have made some pretty good connections here in the last 10 months or so with people in the state of Utah that I need to, and we're trying to dive into that. Again, we've had a lot of success with the Utah guys. Our Friday night guy, I guess two of them the last 4 years have been from Utah, and we've had success there. So I would say the toughest thing, man, is just being in Denver the last 10 years is, you see a kid or you hear about a kid, you drive somewhere and go see him. Other than beating traffic, you just go see him, like, hey, Cole, who you got? And I come watch him throw a pen indoors or go to a high school or go wherever, go to Slammers. You just go somewhere and you do it. Out here, we're kind of on an island, man. It's a weird place to be. We're like not in Colorado. We're not in Utah. It's like its own state out here, and a lot of people forget about it.
Right.
And we're pretty much smack dab in the middle between Salt Lake and Denver. So, there's a couple times I jolted over to Salt Lake area, to Utah, actually to some small Utah towns midweek this year to go watch some guys and go over to Denver to watch some guys. But that's a day trip. You're missing practice, that sort of thing. You're not just going after practice to see them. So that's definitely challenging, just the geography of it. But yeah, with that being said, our tradition, we're Colorado Mesa. A lot of people want to come here, want to play here. Hence why our roster is usually pretty bulky, pretty big. And we do a good job of sifting through that. Coach Hanks does a phenomenal job of roster management. So I would say our biggest challenge is just the geography and trying to figure that out. But with Colorado and Utah, yeah, man, I love those two spots. I kind of have a little niche with transfers and with junior college guys, I guess you could say as well. But I guess I don't know how you write that in a bio. But that's kind of something that I take care of too. But Coach McKinney is without a doubt our recruiting coordinator, and he kills it.
Yeah.
He can have any and every recruit. If he says he wants a Colorado kid, he gets him. You know what I mean? So I'm not stepping on his toes on that, and he can step all over my feet on any kid he wants. He's really good at it. He's the best recruiter I've ever seen. So I try to listen to his phone conversations and record them and play him over on my own phone to somebody. He's really good at what he does.
You gotta get tips from the man,
Try to do
right?
what he can do. Yeah, seriously. So,
Well,
but yeah, man, Colorado and Utah's fun.
Right. That's something I was going to ask because I don't think many people have known this, but like I did spend a semester at in Rangeley.
Oh
One
yeah,
for my first year of college ball was in Rangeley,
I
and
did
that's what I
not
was
know
going to
that
ask. Is like,
school.
what?
I did not know that.
I don't try to shout it out too much,
Yeah,
but
they got what
but it's
one restaurant in town?
maybe
Yeah,
I haven't been out there since probably 2012 ish.
yeah, okay,
So but like it's one of those I find it so fascinating, like probably beyond the program and the tradition that has been built there and why it's such a juggernaut. Like, what are the challenges of trying to, if you weren't, let's just hypothetically, like, how would you get a kid like, hey, come move out to Grand Junction? We're basically like in our own little island in the country. You
yep,
know, you're 8 hours away from Denver. You're I don't know how many hours away from Salt Lake. You know, you're very isolated, right?
yep.
Like, how would you kind of pitch that to a kid?
Yeah, I think the campus, the community sells itself. That's for sure. Our tradition definitely helps. You take them in our clubhouse and they see a lot of trophies and
Yeah.
a lot of stuff like that. That helps. You take them in the gym and they actually have to figure something out with our banner. I think because I think all of our years have ran out on the banners that are hanging in the rafters, so they have to figure
Time
something
to
out.
update it.
So that sells itself. The views are phenomenal out here. The
Right.
climate's great. A lot of people in Denver or in the Colorado area think we were crazy for, and I'd say I wasn't here for it, but that they went natural instead of turf out here. The climate is totally different in Grand Junction than Denver. I think a lot of people just think Colorado is Denver and vice versa. We're on the western slope. We're very similar, like the Southwest. We're
Right.
not Arizona, but it is a scorcher out there today. It feels like 110 out there, but so the climate sells itself. You're not dealing with snow. You're not dealing with all that. Those are a lot of the things we touch on. Again, the community's great. CMU is definitely the ticket in town, kind of the only ticket, so that helps. And again, our tradition, man. I mean, the continuity of our coaching staff and what Coach Hanks has done with the rest of the coaching staff, with Coach McKinney and Coach Rogers being here for so long. Players want to play for consistency. They want to play for something that they know is going to last and stay. And the track record of the Mavericks speaks for itself in that regard.
Right. So in your role because your role as defense and pitching and then day-to-day operations, like what does that usually look like for you?
Yeah.
In season, out of season. Now we're in the summer, so you're not as busy probably compared to in season. But what does the day-to-day look like for you?
Yeah, it's been cool. Again, my position has kind of been created here in the last 10 months or so. Coach Steve Wojtek, who I have a ton of respect for. He's been great to me ever since I've moved out here. Again, he's the athletic director at Grand Junction High School, so he's a block away. And they're building a new high school. You can actually see his cranes over there. That the new high school here in town is going to be sweet.
Yeah.
He was a teacher when he coached here, right? So I guess quote unquote a volunteer, but definitely not a volunteer. He'd teach and he'd come and be at practice and that sort of thing. Me being around, throughout the day and at weights in the morning and that sort of thing, that's something new that they haven't had. They've always had Coach McKinney and Coach Hanks, so I'm kind of just the third wheel in that regard. I do a pretty good job of playing Switzerland between those two. They get upset with that. Again, their little banter back and forth is fun to be around. But my day-to-day stuff, man, we get in the clubhouse and we recruit, figure out what we're doing for practice, work on the field. Again, we don't have turf, so you're actually working on the field, and it's between the three of us and a couple grounds guys that are on campus that are really good, but making sure the field's dialed in and that sort of thing. Any office stuff that pops up. A big majority of it is recruiting, though.
Right.
You have a good player. You have a good program because you have really good players. So we're always looking for the best players we can get. As far as pitching and defense, that sort of thing, my background, I guess you could say, is more derived around pitching.
Yeah, you and I could talk for hours.
What's that?
We could talk about that for hours.
Yeah, that can of worms, man.
We'll get there. We'll get there soon.
Yeah. Jeff Rogers, has been the pitching coach here for over 30 years. Not a lot of people realize that. He's just done a phenomenal job. really good at pitch grips and bullpen settings and pitch calling in games. I mean, he's just the best. He really is. That's why he's been doing it for so long, and the success they've had in, when you're playing on the moon like you are in the RMAC, and to have the numbers that we've had over the past year is ridiculous. Like this year we broke the all-time RMAC strikeouts record. I think we had the first ERA under 5, which you tell that to a California school and their head explodes because their ERAs are 2. But for 5, that was the first one since like 2018, I think I saw, or something like that. So, I mean, records are still continuing to be broken and stuff like that. They have every other pitching record and that sort of thing. So, again, my background's more in pitching. I just help Jeff out however I can help him out. Whatever he tells me to do, I'm more than willing to help out. And there's certain days where I'm not in the bullpen with pitchers because Rook needs me or Hanks needs me down on the infield or in the cages or whatever. I think they've used it this year a little bit, kind of the Swiss Army knife, but I pretty much am just, hey, wherever you need me, whatever you want me to do, and I'm more than happy to do that.
Right.
Again, very fortunate to be in a program like this. And I have some background in a lot of different areas, and I think that's what appealed to them about me, was I wasn't just a pitching guy, although that is kind of my, I don't know,
forte.
Yeah, what I enjoy the most. But yeah, so it's cool because it kind of keeps me on my feet. Hey, Jeff can't be here because he's working. You got to start pens today. Hey,
Right.
go over there, and we're all really involved in weightlifting. So yeah, man, it's been cool. It's been new. It's been fresh. That's been fun. I kind of needed that where I was at with things. So it's been a good deal.
How do you and Jeff? I'm interested in this because as you just mentioned, like how you probably had the first team ERA under 5 since 2018. What's the psychology that you work on with your pitchers? Just like, look, you guys are going to have a shit ton of runs no matter what, wherever we go. It's just the ball flies here, right? And
Yeah.
Here, at Mesa, at Metro, Regis, all throughout the conferences. I mean, you look at the entire conference as a whole, you think like this is the worst pitching conference imaginable. Like no one can pitch in this league. But how do you navigate that and just be like, look, it's just going to happen. If you have a 5 ERA, you're probably our ace.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy, man. The numbers are skewed. I used to joke with that when I lived in Denver. If I'd go to like 16th Street Mall, I'd see like a homeless guy on the sidewalk. Hey, there's an ex-RMAC pitching coach. It's not for the faint of heart, man. It's hard. It's really hard. I actually saw something too. The 9 of the top 10 Division II offenses last year, 9 of them were all in our region. Like that's, I think 5 of them were RMAC schools. I think one of those like didn't even make the tournament, and they had like the 7th best offense in the nation. So it's just, yeah, it's crazy. That's definitely what it is. We don't stress on it a whole lot. We are lower than Denver out here. We don't really talk about it. Hey, throw it as hard as you can and throw strikes and compete.
Hope for the best.
Yeah, we don't let them kind of have that as their out. Guys know
Right.
it. Guys, you'll give up a wind-dated home run or whatever, and guys are like, come on, man. It's
Right.
interesting though when you go down to Texas or you get out to Cary, which I haven't obviously been fortunate enough to be out there yet, but they talk about it here. Coach Hanks and Coach McKinney and Coach Rogers talk about it. It's just a totally different ball game. It really is how pitching and defense can carry you there and win it. And I think Angelo State proved that this year in the Division II World Series, that they were
Right.
definitely built around pitching and defense, and they did that till the end and lived
Yeah.
and died with it, and it worked. But yeah, man, it's really challenging. Sometimes you get a fresh arm from Utah. Sometimes you get Colorado kids who've been doing it their whole life that know how to pitch in elevation. Sometimes you get a California kid and they get a little shell shocked when they get out here because their stuff's not moving as much. And oh man, at sea level, I was getting a lot more outs. Now I'm giving up home runs. It's a learning curve for everybody. But I think our culture and the way we go about things between Jeff, myself, and our GA's Blake Rome, who's phenomenal, just a great graduate assistant, pitching mind as well. Between the 3 of us with Coach Hanks as the head coach, I mean, the culture for our pitching staff is really good, and don't worry about the elevation, don't worry about numbers, just do your job and compete and that sort of thing. So, but you're right, it's tough. It's a tough place to pitch.
It's tough to go. It's tough to go through the stat sheet. Just like, ugh. Welcome back to the Fast Performance Baseball Podcast. We've been delving into the coaching career of Mark Vig, and I appreciate you for tuning in. Before we continue, I wanted to ask for a moment to ask for your support. If you're finding value in the insights and knowledge we're sharing, I kindly ask you to support the podcast by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Your support helps us reach more baseball enthusiasts like yourself and allows us to continue delivering high-quality content. So if you're enjoying this episode with Mark Vig or any of our previous episodes, please take a moment to hit that like button, share it with your friends, teammates, and fellow baseball fans. Don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. You can also connect with us on social media. Your support means the world to us as we strive to grow the fast performance baseball community. Now let's get back to our conversation with Mark Vig and uncover more valuable insights. So, all right. So let's get into what's like the coaching philosophy at Colorado Mesa. Like, how much is there a mix of the old school versus the new school, right? Utilizing technology, because I'm assuming you guys have a TrackMan at Grand Junction, right, with the Rockies there.
Yep.
And how much do you guys you utilize that? Do you utilize things like Rhapsodo or Pitch Logic? You know, on the hitting side, like you and I don't know what the hell we'll talk about with the hitting side, but you know, like with blast motions or things like that. Like, how do you guys utilize that with your philosophy?
Yeah, no, that's a good topic. Yeah, we have TrackMan over at the stadium. You know, we don't play over there anymore. We have our own on-campus stadium now. We have Synergy here at our stadium. I think TrackMan is in the works. So there's definitely some scouting advantages to that, some development advantages to that. We do not have the blast motion sensors out here. We have Rhapsodo. We run pretty much all of our pins. We have 3 bullpen mounds in the home bullpen, so it's pretty unique in the fact that we can run 3 bullpens at one time. A lot of the times, one of them will be dedicated to Rhapsodo with our GA Blake Rome. He's, again, really good at that type of stuff. We actually call him our DOA, Director of Analytics, is his unofficial title. And he was our GA, and then he pitched for us again this year, and now he's back to our GA. Anyways, he does that, and then, you know, Jeff and I will kind of be on the other mounds, mainly Jeff, and working with pitch grips and that sort of thing. Yeah, we do the best we can to give guys every tool to develop and have all the advancements in technology. You know, everything that we can have at this level within our budget, we do the best to have all of them. I know at the Division I level and that sort of thing, they have just ridiculous amounts of pitching labs and that sort of thing, and hitting labs. We're very fortunate. We have what we call the Monfort Human Performance Lab, which is actually behind center field, and we have some videos online with some guys doing some stuff in there. And Dr. Kristen Human does a phenomenal job with that. We run all of our pitchers through a pre-fall pitching lab type deal with movements, and it's a pass-fail test. And with the doctors over at our performance lab, they've come up with, I think it's 8 different exercises that they use on pass-fail, and then we try to get guys better at each of them. We really dove, and again, we could go down a rabbit hole on this topic, and I don't know if we want to, but we really dove into grip strength stuff this year. Really big into grip strength stuff. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I don't know if Coach Hanks wants me to say this. We were actually testing guys in between innings when they'd come off, and we'd log it. And they had like a baseline going into the week that was from a couple weeks prior, and I think we updated that like every month. And our trainer did a phenomenal job with it. And we didn't really act on any of it. We were just kind of collecting data to kind of see what that looks like, because I know a lot of Division I programs and professional teams, they're actually acting on it. You know, if a guy comes off in a spring training game and he's like, I think it's plus or minus 12 of their baseline, they'll just yank them. You know, even if it's plus and they're super jacked up, they're like, hey, we got it. We're going to pull you. You're doing like just basically you're doing like readiness training, right? Yeah. Yep. So we were big on the grip strength stuff, and again, that comes from the Monfort Human Performance Lab, which again is right behind center field, which is a huge plus for us that it's so close. Yeah. But over there, I mean, we can hook guys up. They look like an avatar on a screen, and we can hook them up, and they can swing off a tee, and they can actually take out the middle bar of the doors, and you can throw a bullpen in there.
Nice.
The outside, and the stuff they can do over there. I mean, we haven't even tapped into it as much as we should, but that's that's
Do you
about
guys
as
use
advanced as it gets at this
do you guys
level.
use it like as a biomechanics kind of lab,
That's
or is
exactly
okay?
right. Yep. They have an
Gotcha.
environmental chamber. They have all the treadmills with stuff. They have the cameras. That's the last stop we take recruits on when we take them on a recruiting tour. And if
Just
we
like let you
haven't,
know you're going to be a lab rat here.
yeah, if we haven't sold them on becoming a maverick by then, usually when they walk in there, if mom and dad's with them, it's like, oh boy, all right, well
Right.
this is they're pretty serious about some things. And again, the proximity to our baseball field, I think, is unmatched to anybody at this level. It's literally right behind our hitter's eye, so that helps too. I would say that's our biggest player development perk that we have over anybody else that I don't think anybody could even match us on. And again, Dr. Kristen Human does a phenomenal job with our guys on that stuff.
So when after you've done all your tests with your your biomechanics or your 8-step program that you guys run on the preseason, what does the development like cycle look like for your guys? Because I know you guys are limited on practice time in the fall, and but like how do you work to like okay, what like when you try to identify where am I going to get this kid to be over the top to be a major contributor to us? Like what kind of a path do you follow to get this kid from point A to point B in his development?
Yeah, I think it starts with Dr. Human and Sean McKinney, and they kind of trickle that down to our trainer. We call him Lasso. He looks like Ted Lasso. His name's McLean Whitney, and he does a great job. And then Mark Ryan's our head strength coach. He does a phenomenal job. All those guys kind of collab together with some of the other doctors on campus, collab together on what they need to do, how they need to do it. And it's small, as you know. I mean, that's your world. It's very small, incremental improvements, and there's setbacks, and there's, hey, I don't think I should be doing this, but it actually does help. It's all those things that you battle. And I think all the different dynamics of people telling them this is what you should do. Your hips are really tight. Yeah, you're throwing 90, but your grip is like 80. Like that's brutal. What are you doing? Like, are you not strong? Like in your hands? Let's strengthen your all that sort of stuff. It is fascinating. The mobility stuff, again, Mark Ryan does a phenomenal job. He's our strength coach. He's the head strength coach on campus, and he works directly with our baseball team. He does a great job in getting guys strong. Again, we tell recruits that all the time. If you don't like the weight room, this isn't the place for you. We're pretty black and white in recruiting. We don't mean to be dicks, for lack of a better word. I apologize if that's the wrong word to use. We don't mean to be rude. We're pretty black and white. If you don't like the weight room, this isn't the place for you. If you don't like getting big and getting stronger, this isn't the place for you. And I think when you see our guys show up in uniform, that kind of speaks for itself. That's a thing that our culture is. They enjoy that. They enjoy the weight room. They enjoy getting bigger, and that starts with, like I said, Mark Ryan and his staff and stuff like that. But yeah, the development, man, that's a never-ending battle of just continuing trying to improve. And then again, you're dealing with the college athlete, which I know you're dealing with high school athlete. They got so much else going on in their lives, and you don't know if you woke them up on the right Saturday or the right Monday morning, if they're in the right physical mindset, or it's crazy. And then you try and get them to get going. So you kind of navigate all those things, but it's we got a good thing going out here with all the perks and things that we have.
Right. How often do you guys, when you're trying to identify, like you're doing scrimmages or you're doing lives or you're, in games, how much are you guys utilizing, to the best of your abilities, things like modern analytics to identify like, hey, here's where you struggle at. And, like I give you like an example because you and I both know Jared Ure.
Yeah.
I don't know what his deal was this spring, but like from you being firsthand with him, like, hey, Jared, you're really good here, but you really struggle here. Here's some things we maybe need to address and bullpens, or maybe it's a mental thing, or how much do you got to utilize a little more advanced statistics and everything like that?
Yeah, I think with our dynamic, I'll just speak to the mound. I think with our dynamic of Jeff, myself, and Blake Rome, I don't know if anybody at our level has that dynamic where you have, I guess you could call Jeff old school, me somewhere in the middle, and Blake super, super new school. So they get all of it, and all three of us work really well together in it and help guys out. And, hey, if this guy needs a little, kick in the butt and a little, hey, this is how you throw a slider, quit throwing it like that, Jeff's the perfect guy to go to. If
Right.
they need someone to have put their arm around them and talk to them in the outfield because their arm doesn't feel good. I'm pretty good at that. And if they need someone to tell them how much gyro spin they have on a vertical axis against the rotor converter, that's Blake Rome. I mean, so it's cool, man. It's really cool. But yeah, it's the battle that none of us know. If somebody knew, it'd be a book on it, and they'd be making a lot of money, and they'd be the pitching coach for the Yankees, which I guess a lot of those guys are really good. So I don't know. Yeah. That's probably a bad comment, but you know what I mean? Like it's hard. Some guys really look the part. In bullpens, it's great, and they throw really hard. And then when the lights get turned on, it doesn't necessarily work. And some guys don't look the part, and it's 84, and you put them on the mound against another team, and they just bulldog it, and all they do is get outs. I think we do a really good job of just evaluating talent, and evaluating what we see with our eyes, and doing our best to figure out what's the best matchup for us as a program of what works. I think we have a little bit of both. We did this last spring on the pitching staff of things. We had, I don't know, guys that weren't sexy that really got outs, and guys that were really sexy that didn't get a whole lot of outs. So it's interesting to see how that works sometimes, man.
Right. What is because you just had mentioned the valuation. What is the, I guess, without giving too much away in how your recruiting strategy works, if, share whatever you feel is, you can give away, but what is the valuation like? You're out in, St. George, Utah, or you go down to La Junta. What's the name of a specific
Not
town,
a pretty
right?
place.
Right. But what is, when you're looking for, you're seeing a high school athlete, and you're like, okay, this kid could be a Maverick. What are those things that are going to set them apart and be like, okay, this is a kid that draws my eye?
Yeah, I think everybody's got their own personal preferences, and kind of things that work for them. We've found, and again, I say we have only been a part of the program for a year, but I've done my best just to learning curve. Yeah. Hey, what do you want me to do? Just tell me how to do it and I'll do it, type of thing. They've found out here that kind of that 86 to 88 range is really good for a high school pitcher. They've had a lot of success with those guys then coming onto campus and getting our throwing programs, and by the end of the fall, they're 90 to 92. They've found that like those 82 to 85 guys, sometimes it just doesn't work as quickly as they would like. It still has, but it doesn't go as quickly as they would like. And then, again, back to the recruiting downfalls or whatever, then those 88 to 92 guys, I mean, it sucks to say, but some of those guys are just out of our league. They go Division I. That's what we always battle. So we kind of call our sweet spot is that 86 to 88 range, somewhere in there, plus or minus one or two. If you're left-handed, man, I like you already off the bat. Yeah, I know. Trying to tie my son's right arm behind his back when he's playing catch with me or when he's chucking balls. Yeah, man. So you're looking for that. You're looking for that long loose, and there's no real way to explain that, especially in a podcast setting. But just where it looks good, it's got that downward tilt, and it's loose. There's no hitch. They got some pitchability. They can land a breaking ball. They feel comfortable with it. We really like guys that work fast, have some tempo, have some feel on the mound. We like that. We're not really, size isn't a huge deal. If you're 5'6", you can really pitch. Yeah, we'll probably take you still. If you're 7 foot and you can't pitch, we're not just going to take you because you're 7 foot. I'd say over the 6 foot range is probably a little bit better, but you never know. Again, our freshman of the year, he's a freshman All-American. I mean, Liam Owenstein from Rock Canyon, he's, I don't know, 5'9", 5'10". That's probably pushing it. And then, like you said, like Jared Year, he's 6'8", and Greek God, that sort of thing. So we get them in all walks of life. But yeah, I think, again, when it comes to recruiting, man, there's just so much. There's so much like that clicks in your eyes when you watch a kid, I guess is the best way to explain it. And again, Coach Wojtek always told me one of his deals was you had to watch a guy 3 times, and I don't know if Will wants me to tell you that, but it's like you got to watch a guy 3 times, and he's got to talk me in that he can be a Maverick every time I see him. So I kind of think about that in the back of my head now when I'm watching guys. Again, we have to do a lot on video. I need to get better at
Right.
that. I tell Coach McKinney that almost every time he pulls up a kid. I'm just like, God, I wish I could see him with my own eyes. I got spoiled being in Denver for 10 years, and we have to rely a lot on video, and then the video gets them out on a visit, and then they perform for us in front of our eyes. But um, video matters without a doubt, on how good it looks and if it's up and close and the angles, all that sort of stuff. It's crazy how that's changed just in the last couple of years.
So, like, I'm interested in like you were saying, the video, and it's one of those things where I try to convince more high school guys. I'm like, videos. I think now in this age we're in, where everything's on social media, like, I know you're on social media, like, it's like the saying goes, like, if at least one guy in every program is on social media, can be seen on Twitter.
Hmm.
That's how I've really kind of gotten to know each other.
Yeah.
I've
Yep.
had a couple of kids that I put video on Twitter, but then you go like, oh shit, I want to go watch. I want to
Right.
go see this kid. And, like Adrian is like the one kid comes to mind now.
Yeah.
I think he's a redshirt sophomore
Yeah.
at Metro. So, but that's one of the things, like, you know, video is so valuable for you guys, with your minimum little travel budgets you may be allocated to. And, this may be going to a rant about the whole showcase spiel about
I
like
hear
kids
you.
going to showcases when they shouldn't go, like like what are the things that, you know, you can tell you go to a showcase, like one of the PBR things, you just go like, yeah, this kid just doesn't have it, right? Like, what are like the automatic turnoffs to you when you see a kid pitching or playing?
I think probably the first thing, and I don't know if it's right, just their physicality. It's I don't know. I guess when it comes to senses, eyes is one of the first.
Right.
So if they look the part, whether that's clean cut or nice hat, tucked in shirt, that sort of thing.
Right.
Not wearing the flood pants. Yeah, man, they look the part. They got nice legs. I think video is very important though. And I know you actually put something out here recently on, I think it was on Instagram. You're like, which I love your stuff. Like you do like the quick hitter reels of like, this is how you should do mobility, and it's just like boom, boom,
Right.
boom. It's like, oh, that was perfect, Cole. Great job.
Yeah.
It's like,
Oh,
hey,
thanks.
this is the angles you should use on a recruiting video. It's like, oh man, I need to save that. Can I screenshot this? And I'm not good enough at technology. I was like, how can I screenshot this and send it to some of my buddies that need help with this? You know what I mean?
Right.
All that stuff matters. Like it really does. Yeah, the cattle call showcases I've never been a fan of. They almost give me anxiety just thinking about. It's
I
just
call it's toddlers and tiaras for baseball.
yeah, it's really weird. I'm a big fan of universities, their own prospect camps. If you really like a school, you think you can play there, go to that school's prospect camp and play in front of their coaching staff and perform in front of them, whether you're ready or not. I think even if you're not ready, I think there's more benefit to that than just the cattle call prospect camp, because you get to at least see the campus, you get to talk to the coaches, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of those, and I'm not pubbing ours. I'm not saying you shouldn't go to one of the big showcases. To each their own for everything. That's just a personal preference of mine. I think the best way to showcase your skills, if you feel like you haven't got seen enough in your high school season or summer season, you go to that school's camps, and figure out what they like, how they like it, and try and do that if that's where you want to play.
Right.
I think that's the best way to go about it. I think about that all the time. I think Coach Hanks talks about that sometimes. He's like, when I was in, I think he said when he was in rookie ball, he's like, what did my manager really like? Well, I'm going to try and figure out how to do that because that's how I'm going to play. You know what I mean? I don't think enough people think about that enough. I think there's something to that. It's not all the way, but there's something definitely to that in how to perform. But yeah, when you go to one of these showcases, man, I think they got to have ample time to warm up. They got to be able to long toss if they want to long toss. You got to have the ability to throw balls if they need to throw balls against something. They got to be
Right.
able to do all that, and they can't stand around for an hour and be like, "All right, 101, you're up," and then they get five fastballs, three curveballs, and then you pat them on the butt and thanks for coming, Johnny.
I
Um,
know.
they need to showcase their skills, whether that's in a game setting or in a legit bullpen setting. Um, I think some of that's lost in some of the showcase stuff.
Yeah. So I kind of just get annoyed. I'm like, I try. There's so many guys who will go to those showcases and being just like, oh, I went to this thing and I went to, I'm like, okay, but what did you get out of it? And
Yeah.
I tell guys like, maybe you go to one a year to see your progress and where you stack up with guys. And I think that's,
Sure.
to me at least, the biggest benefit is you can see where you stack up with people. But if you're going to just showcase one, showcase two every other weekend, you expose yourself a little bit. Like it's what you were saying is like you need to see a guy 3 times, but like you need to see him in a proper situation, not
Right.
all showcase kind of thing, right?
Yeah, or like a personal invitation to work out for a school.
Right.
We have workouts quite a bit for guys. So yeah, what does that actually look like as opposed to just 110 of them showing up and throwing from right field?
Right. So now as we bring kids on, like what are things that you and the coaching staff at Mesa, like how do you help players, overcome things like they would experience throughout the season, like giving up a shit ton of runs, or like there's specific challenges pitching in the RMAC. Like, what are some techniques that you guys use to just, hey, get them back into the right headspace when they feel like they had a bad outing?
Yeah, again, Coach Hanks and Coach Rogers have done a phenomenal job of that for so long. We've done a really good job as of late. They've done a really good job as of late the last couple of years of splitting games, keeping it short. I think sometimes they battle that, back in the early 2000s, early 2010s, you just flipping the ball to a guy and hey, go 9, and by the end of the year their arms falling off or they can't wipe their own butt and that sort of thing. And now we're kind of splitting games, and I think that keeps guys fresh. It keeps guys on their toes. It keeps guys kind of mentally prepared. We've also talked about just the landscape of pitching, and the showcase ball. A lot of these guys, they're going to all these tournaments throughout the summer, and they got the pitching grid on the fence, and Johnny's pitching innings 4 through 6, and then Jimmy's going 7 through 8, and they don't know any different. That's how they do it, And we always laugh too. Like in the fall, it's like when you pre-script a game, it seems to always go cleaner, easier. I don't know if there's something to that. I don't know. It's weird. But they've done a really good job of game management with the pitching staff. Again, between the 3 pitching guys that we have here, between Jeff, myself, and Blake, I think we have a good dynamic. I think we had good communication down to the bullpen this year. With some technology on knowing who needs to get hot when, who they got coming up. I just know from talking to some returners that have been in the program for a long time, they said that this was the best year they've ever had in that. I don't think that has anything to do with me. I just trying to stay out of the way and help out the best I can. But I think that matters. All those things matter. They all play into it. Keeping guys fresh mentally, I think, is a big deal. Coach Hanks has a really good feel for pulling guys. I don't know if that's the right word, but like giving guys a week off. And like it'll be like out of nowhere, like almost like RMAC pitcher the week before. He's like, let's bring him out of the pen this week. And you're like, on paper, like what? Or if the local media gets word of it, they're like thinking we're crazy, and then it goes perfectly. I don't know how to explain it. Or like all of a sudden a guy will get shelled and be like, I bet he's going to be good next week. And then like he'll throw him and he'll just dominate. He has a really good feel for that. Again, there's no method to it other than what goes on in his head, and it works. But between him and Jeff and game management and stuff like that, they're as good as it gets in college baseball in my mind.
Right. It's the benefit of having been there for so long. There's probably nothing that shocks him anymore at this point.
Zero.
You look over a crazy play happening, he's just like, whatever.
Yeah. I joke with Coach McKinney all the time, man. He and I are pretty close. It's a fun dynamic to. I'll just give him a look and be like, "Yep, told you so." You know what I mean?
Right.
Just stuff like that.
Well, that's like Jason will tell me because he's the pitching coach over at Mullen now, right?
Yeah.
And
yep.
He's the pitching coach there, and then they have Corey Sullivan also helps with that program. And it's one of those like he says like me and Sully are probably the most chill people in the dugout because anything you could possibly think of, the worst thing, we've probably seen it.
Right.
throughout their whole career.
Isn't that funny how that goes though? It's just it's such a fascinating dynamic. It doesn't rattle a whole lot of people. We're very calm and very easygoing in the dugout. I never knew that's how that was being on the other side of them for so long. And then I was on it, I was like, wow, this is really cool. And then like you said, you just think about it, you're like, well, they've been doing it forever. They've seen everything. Like, no wonder he just threw two straight balls and that doesn't freak him out. Like, think of how many times
Right.
they've seen that before. You know what I mean?
No.
So, yeah, it's been cool. It's been a very fascinating dynamic to be on this side of it and see how it goes.
Right. So now you've been coaching at Regis, you've coached at Metro for many years, and now you've gone into Mesa. What has the journey, or how has your philosophy evolved or changed throughout your time coaching in the RMAC? Like, in very obviously very different programs, right? You come into Regis, and Regis is not the most successful program that's ever existed in the RMAC. Metro for a long time was good, but they were never at Mesa's level. Now you're at Mesa, where you're a perennial contender. You're always in the conversation. You're always top 5 in the nation. Like, how has that philosophy changed as you've been from program to program?
Yeah, it was cool to hear you say that, man. First off, I'm just very lucky. I don't know
Yeah.
why or how. I've been fortunate enough to be where I've been. I say it to these guys quite a bit. I've said it before too. I'm the longest tenured RMAC baseball coach, other than the entire staff out here. And then I joined
Right.
them, so it's like it's funny, it's weird.
Well, and I should caveat there, like when you came into Metro, sorry, like they were good, but never like
Yeah,
but now they're consistently a top 25
yeah,
team.
no, that's totally valid. Yep. Um, so yeah, it's been a fascinating journey. It's been cool. Again, I'm very lucky, very fortunate. I've been around tremendous players. Again, I think you have really good players. It means you're a good coach, whether that's you recruited them or you made them good or you stayed out of their way because they were good. Any of those things. So I've been very fortunate to have really good players everywhere I've been. Again, all 3 stops have been very different. Difference in length, difference in philosophies, types of universities, facilities, funding, all that sort of stuff.
Right.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of what we did at Metro, and the success that they're going to continue to have there. Very fortunate to become part of a program like Colorado Mesa that, we're the winningest Division II program in the last 16 years. Been to 4 College World Series, 11 straight RMAC titles. Sorry, this sounds like a recruiting pitch.
That's what you're here for.
14 straight.
I'm here to pump you guys up.
Yeah. So
Like I had JL Buchanan in the last episode. I was like, dude, I'm just trying to pump you up, get people to go out to quarter for you.
good for JL, man. I like JL. He's a
Yeah.
good dude.
Great day.
So yeah, it's been really fascinating. It's funny just things that go on in my head while you're saying the question. I always consider myself a really loyal person.
Right.
And then I told Coach McKinney that I said I think I'm really loyal. And then here I am. I'm going on my 4th boss in 10 years. I don't know what I did wrong. But some of that's maybe not out of my control. Or
That's just the carousel. That's just the
yeah.
coaching carousel.
Again, that goes back to what I was saying about the turnover in the RMAC too. It's not for the faint of heart. There's so much turnover. Head coaches have stuck around a lot longer now than they were kind of in that, I don't know, 2005 to 2015 range, but they've stuck around a lot longer now. But when I started in 2013, it was kind of new then and that sort of thing. But yeah, man, really lucky to be with the staffs that I've been with. The current staff that I'm on is as good as it gets, the best. Coach Hanks has been phenomenal to me. Coach McKinney's been great to me. It's been really fun to be a part of, and to kind of see, where it's gone. Again, we were building something at Regis, building something at Metro, sort of thing, and then I kind of just stumbled into this, walked into this, and it's already built.
Right.
It's kind of one of those things you just get out of the way, don't screw it up, all those sorts of things. Shut your mouth, nod your head. I don't know if a lot of people would do it that way, but that's my perception of it. That's my perspective of it because I've seen it work. I think some people would come in, they'd try and change it because they're hot-headed or whatever. And I think that goes back to a little bit of your original question, like how have you evolved? I've always been big on just relationships with players, making sure they have somebody they can talk to, that good cop, bad cop dynamic. I guess I've always been on the side of the good cop. I don't know, maybe some of my players would disagree with that. I don't think 100% of my players have enjoyed me. And I don't think you can ever get that. But hopefully it's the majority. And I think I've done a good job of that. Like I said, that good cop side of they think they can come to me. I don't know if that's age or my personality or my demeanor or what I give off, but I think guys have been able to talk to me and I can relate to players and um, pitchers, position players, whatever it is. So I do my best to just continue that. I would say that's never changed. The relationship base has never changed for me. I continue to try and improve it as opposed to not improve upon it. That gets harder when you get older. You know, they start saying stuff that you haven't heard, and you're like, "What?" And then you feel old, and you're like, "Oh boy, this is way over
Like
my."
we're going to the get off my lawn kids or
Yeah, right. That's exactly. Right. They start calling me a boomer or something. I'm like, "Oh boy, that's not even close to my generation." So yeah, I think that has never changed. I think when I was younger, I would get a lot more upset on certain things, and now it doesn't upset me as much. I don't know if that's having my own kids or what, if that's tamed me. Um, I would say I don't know, I've always feel like I've been pretty organized and detailed. I would say that's probably stayed the same. I don't know. Hopefully it's improved, but I don't think it's gotten worse. Yeah, it's a fascinating question, man. It's a good like self evaluation.
what's it? So all right, let me make it easier. What's something you maybe believed when you first started coaching that now you look back on and you go like, God, I can't believe I believed that, or you learned something, you grew some new information, or you learned a new philosophy, and just like that makes way more sense than when I originally started out.
Yeah, that's good. I think I got into a little bit of a rut there somewhere in the last 10 years where talent talent's all that mattered. If you had really good talent, it would work. You'd get wins. I think early in my career, I was big on like culture and team, and then somewhere I got in the middle where that didn't matter, and now I'm back out on the other side. Talent's great. Talent is the floor, though. You know, it's not the
Right.
ceiling; it's the floor. And culture and talking about things that matter, and again, being a part of a program like Colorado Mesa where all of those things are talked about and it works, and they have the history of it. It's like, wow, that's cool that that's how they do things and that it actually works. And it's kind of like one of those no duh type things. So yeah, I think somewhere in the middle, maybe I got mixed up in the oh he throws really hard and his BP looks great. That's all that mattered. There's so much more to it. There's so much personality and intangibles and toughness and work ethic, and because a lot of those guys, man, it just never works out when it gets down to it and games on the line or there's a pressure situation. It never works for those guys. It might work in a smaller setting in a smaller scale game, but when it's really matters, when it comes down to it, it never works for those guys. But the teams that outcompete and out team and out tough other teams and their players are tough. That's what matters. So again, I think I've come back out on that side, and I'm still young. Maybe I'll go back to it and I'll screw up on that again, and then I'll have to come back to it. I don't know. I would say that's been the biggest one for me, is riding that kind of roller coaster of what's important. And then when you get the players who are very talented and intrinsically motivated, then you got the best of both worlds.
Nice. All right, so I got a couple more things, then I'll let you go. So if you're, I've been asking this of every guy I've been had on. So what's your biggest advice to a high school athlete who maybe wants to be a Maverick one day, or in general just wants to play college baseball, maybe beyond that? What's your biggest piece of advice you can give that kid?
Play as many sports as you can and continue to play them. I'm on that hill. Is that to say if you only play baseball, I don't like you or I won't take you? No, that's not what I'm saying. So don't get that mixed up. I think multi-sport athletes are a big deal. Again, I come from a small town, so maybe that's how I was raised. And my nephews played like 5 sports in high school, and they're studs, and they're really good athletes, and I think that works.
Right.
So play as many sports as you can and play them as long as you can. And if one of them doesn't work out, then yeah, I guess you hang them up, but at least you learn from them on that, and then move to the sport that you like. Getting as big and as strong and as fast as you can, as early as you can, as quickly as you can, however you got to do that, I think is key. I think that's the biggest hurdle young guys have to get over when they get to college is just the physicality of our game, what it takes, the daily grind, the weekly grind. I think a lot of guys will do it like 3 days a week in high school, and they think they're really working. Man, when you get to college, it's 8 days a week. You know what I mean? You're always lifting, you're always throwing. Um, it's always funny too, like pitchers that don't throw all summer and right away it looks really good. You're like, wow, he's in shape, and then again in 2 weeks they can't wipe their own butt, and you're like, what, you didn't throw
Right.
leading up to this. You know what I mean? It's that continual work at it that I think a lot of high school kids, young kids, just don't understand until you see it, and they don't understand until it's too late, and they got to find it out the hard way. So, yeah, it's real great to sit here and be like, this is how you need to do it. They won't do it. They're definitely not going to listen to me. They'll probably listen to someone a lot smarter than me, that's got a lot better resume or a lot more championships or whatever. They want to listen to those guys. That's fine. You probably got to find it out the hard way for yourself. That's how a lot of life works with things. Is you think you're doing it right, and then you find out you're not doing it right, and you find it out the hard way. But the physicality is such a big key to our freshmen. A lot of guys, the arm starts hurting, or hamstrings start hurting, or they're not big enough. The weight room kills them. That's such a big one. Is figuring that staying busy. I think is big. That kind of goes back to what I was saying about multi-sport and that sort of thing. I don't think high school kids are busy enough these days. I don't know. I probably sound like you said, get off my lawn guy with that comment, but I don't know, man. I feel like when I was in high school, I was always busy, and then you look at some high school kids now, and they're like laying in their bed on their phone watching TikTok till 3 a.m. Again, I sound old when I'm saying this, but
Yeah.
stay busy. Get a job, go work, go do something, hang out with friends, stay busy. I think that helps your social aspect, your physical aspect in life. That would be another quick tip to young athletes, young kids.
I love that advice. Where can everyone find you? Like, if they want to reach out to you, they want to follow what Mark Big does day to day. Maybe you got to get better on the social media. Here I am getting the field ready for some, I don't know, high school tournament or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where can they find you on social media and everything?
Yeah, I'm pretty active on Twitter. Coach Vig, I think it's 24. My number's not 24 out here anymore, but I think I kept my profile the same. Coach Vig 24. I'm actually on Instagram, but I'm not good at Instagram. Twitter's good. Email's great. mvig@coloradomesa.edu. You can find me there. You can shoot me emails. We get emails all the time. But yeah, man, just enjoying life on the Western Slope out here in Grand Junction, and trying to get to see as many games and as many teams as I can this summer. I going to Salt Lake here in a couple weeks, and Denver and Colorado Springs in a couple weeks, and yeah, just trying to find future Mavericks that can do it in our program.
Well, when you're back out here, you know where to come find us. Come give us a visit.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man.
We might have some guys that you might be interested in.
Yeah, I'd love it. I'd love it, man.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Mark. It means a lot to have you on.
Yeah, thanks, Cole. I appreciate you having me. Thanks for all you do for the baseball community, the Denver community, Colorado community. I mean, you and Hirsch, you guys are doing a great job. Love your guys' facilities. I've always loved, bantering back and forth with you guys. And again, being out here, communication is such a key for us because we're so far away from places. So, being able to shoot you guys a text and, hey, who you got, what do you got, how's he looking? Right. It's so key to us. But yeah, man, thanks for having me on. Sorry if I've rambled. Sorry if I haven't said enough.
You shot when you sent me that. I swear, when you sent me that text that you were quitting at Metro, I was like, what is that?
Yeah.
What the hell does that mean? And then you pop up at Mesa. I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, it caught a lot of people off guard. I'm actually still getting phone calls and texts like, what? I just saw online that you're in this hat or you're on this. I'm still getting that. And that's.
I know. I thought to myself, like, well, now he's a lot harder to reach. And
yeah. It is weird being on an island a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel a lot less social, but I'm kind of okay with that. I have kids now, and my
kids.
wife and I are happy out here, not dealing with them.
Yeah, I saw your story. You and your wife are golf champions.
She just carries me. She carries me in life, but I'm fortunate that she wanted to move out to the Western Slope to Grand Junction with me and everything like that, so I could continue to do this. Because, like you said, man, when I left Metro, I thought I was done with college baseball, and that's a whole nother conversation. But I thought I was done with that, and then if the Yankees call, you got to answer. And then things just kept rolling and rolling downhill, and Coach Hanks was able to make it happen. And here we are. But yeah, I'm like I said, man, I'm still getting phone calls and texts like, "What? You're wearing these colors?" Or like I went home and I was wearing, Mesa stuff, and they're like, "Where are you at now?" And I thought you used to be in a different color red. And it's like, yeah.
Right.
So I'm not really that type of guy to post online of blessed and humbled to take a new job, but it just kind of happened, and we moved out, and here we are. So
You're that one kid also be like, that's the one post, like, blessed and humble to commit to this school that I probably won't be able to do anyway.
That's good.
You as well.
Oh man, that's good. Yep. Thanks, Cole. You take care, man. We'll see you.
And that wraps up our conversation with Mark Vig on this episode of the Fast Performance Baseball Podcast. Thank you so much to Mark for giving his time to share his insights and experiences with us. His passion for coaching and dedication to developing his players is truly amazing. Before we sign off, I want to express our gratitude to all of our listeners. Our support and engagement mean the world to us, and we're thrilled to have you as a part of the Fast Performance Baseball community. If you enjoyed this episode and valued the discussion with Mark, we kindly ask you to show your support. Please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to the podcast. Your likes, shares, and subscriptions help us reach more baseball enthusiasts like yourself and continue delivering valuable content. Also, we'd like to give a special shout out to me. You can go follow me on all my socials at Cole Thomas Fast on all the socials like Instagram, TikTok, anything like that, to learn more things about the podcast and learn more things behind the scenes going on here at Fast. Don't forget to connect with Fast on social media at Fast Performance CO and at Fast Baseball on Instagram, TikTok, everything like that, to keep engaged with discussions, see more interesting content, and be a part of bigger discussions. Lastly, if you have any suggestions for future topics or guests you'd like to see on the podcast, please reach out to us. We value your feedback and want to ensure we're providing content that resonates with you. Once again, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate your support and look forward to bringing you more exciting episodes packed with insights from the world of baseball. Until next time.